is Ranvir Shorey. Ranvir, it's good to see you. Thank you for your time here on India Today. This is a delicate topic, but everyone's talking about it. It's all over the internet. It's the trending topic. All the politicians have jumped in as well. But my opening question to you, Ranvir, is what do you think about this Kaali poster and the reactions you've seen? You're an actor. You're in the creative field. This is where it's come from. What did you think of it?
Well, since I come from the field, I can tell you that, having such an image in your film itself in passing is one thing, but to have such an image on your poster, which is you're leading with that, with your marketing material, to have an image like this, I think one can't help conclude that this is a desperate attempt at getting attention, which it is now.
What did you think of the reactions? Were you surprised by the reactions? There was a great deal of outrage, a lot of criticism. Most people said that this is a selective depiction of Hindu goddesses in this manner, by people who would never dare do this with, figures of other religions.
Yes, and I think more than any, I'm not a very religious person. I'm not very, well-read on religious scriptures. But I think more than anything, what has begun showing now is the hypocrisy, which is that, how this certain group of people who claim to represent liberal values, how they react to, one religion and how they react to another. I think that hypocrisy has started showing, and that's why I think people are, enraged.
So you're saying that there is a selectivity going on here. The fact that someone doesn't see anything in deciding to put out a poster of this kind, without any fear of a violent backlash, for instance, is a depiction of this selectivity. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean when you say selectivity, but my point is, I don't think this filmmaker would be able to do this, use this iconography from other religions, and I think because Hinduism, contrary to popular opinion and what we see right now, Hinduism generally breeds liberalism. It gives you a lot of freedom to for variations and your own interpretations even. But I think we need to understand one thing, that liberalism, liberalism makes you, it tends to make you confuse or pass off your own interests as interests of the group. You're claiming to be part of Hinduism, say, but you say no. For me, this is the image. This me thing doesn't really make sense, does it? The deity is not just yours; it belongs to a group, right?
Yeah.
And if you're so adamant on your me, Hinduism even gives you the freedom to start your own religion. Have you make your own deity. Call it whatever you want, and you can make it do whatever you want. But when you start saying, for me, this is okay. I don't know how that works, because that deity is not just yours; it belongs to a group.
Absolutely. And what strikes me about what you're saying is interesting, Ranvir, because there are many people who are like you, not very religious, even atheists, moderates, if you will. Who've been sort of outraged by this. They believe that, how long can this thing kind of go on for? And that's one of the, particular things about this story. People who, wouldn't, throw a second glance at a poster like this, are now reacting, saying enough is enough.
Yeah, I think, Shiv, ideally, I would have, I would like a society which is completely free, complete freedom of expression and freedom of speech to be able to criticize, religious, political, even spiritual, subjects. But I think we live in a society where, of very diverse values as far as religious sentiments go. Because on one hand, you have, religions which are okay with just, saying sorry, or just chanting, or just saying few, Hail Marys or something. And on the other hand, you have religions which want to chop off your head if you say something about them. I think I don't think we as a society are ready for absolute speech and absolute freedom of expression. And I know we are not a society like that. So I mean, it's important to have certain laws to be able to aggregate these values, you know. And then those laws should be applied equally, and the
Yeah.
state needs to be strong about that. You know, you can't have heads being chopped off, you know, in the name of blasphemy and such, or sacrilege in this case. So I think we need to have reasonable laws which kind of reflect the values of our own constitution, and then the state needs to be strong enough to implement them.
Yeah, no, that I completely concur with you on the, on the law enforcement issue. I for one am a person who actually believes that it should be about the law of the land and not about sentiment, because sentiment is a slippery slope. I've actually tweeted about the poster as well. Last couple of questions, Ranveer. You were talking about liberals. My personal view about liberals is the people we call liberals in this country, I don't think they really are liberals, because the hypocrisy and the selectivity with which they apply those liberal values kind of negates any inherent liberalism. But that aside, would you agree that it is this sort of hypocritical, selective, application of those values of one particular depiction and not the other that has in one way, outraged people who say that, this kind of thing has been happening for too long? There has to be an end to it. If you go onto social media right now, there are many reasonable people saying, this kind of thing wouldn't have mattered perhaps a few years ago, but now everyone's really angry because they see it happen over and over again, only in one direction.
Yeah, I mean, Shiv, radicalization and extremism, fundamentalism, this is like a virus. And it travels community to community. In a room full of 5 people, if one person starts asserting his identity all the time, or over certain things, you can be sure in the room other people are also going to, okay, this guy can do it, then I can also do it. It applies to me. And let's face it, constitutionally we are bound with equality, right? Everybody needs to be treated the same.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, this hypocrisy is very apparent, and that is what is really getting people go through.
Do you think there's something that the government should be doing at this point of time? There have been calls for the Prime Minister coming out and making some kind of a statement. With anything that happens now, you usually see one of the principals come out and say the Prime Minister should come out and address the nation. We've seen all these polarizing flare-ups happen, Ranveer, over the last many weeks. What do you think? You think the government needs to do something?
Of course. I mean, who else? That's why they are, that's why they are voted to power. And I don't know about the Prime Minister coming out and saying something. I don't think that, I don't know what that amounts to. Of course, it's wonderful to hear the Prime Minister whenever he speaks. But I think more importantly, the state machinery needs to act and keep up with what is happening.
Okay, and one final question, because sentiments have been hurt. You've got Indian laws that are applied in different places. There are all these FIRs being lodged. I don't know if you caught Mahua Maitra of the Trinamool Congress had something to say about Kaali. She's been, scolded by her political party. What do you make of all of that? The fact that this is such a hot topic that anything anyone says, becomes automatically controversial. And, while I say that, I also want to say that, for instance, the film industry, Ranveer, which you come from, they've been largely silent about this kind of thing, which is reasonable. You've chosen to speak out. Are you surprised that most people don't want to say anything about this?
Look, first I'll
school of thought you want to subscribe to is applied equally to all is at this point of time, it appears to be a far cry, but it's something that we most certainly should be hoping for. There are many people who've said, you know, this entire thing is a tamasha, why give so much attention to a filmmaker like this? The point is that when it comes to sentiment, it becomes subjective, it's a slippery slope. People are actually reacting, and we will cover that here on India Today. Ranvir Shorey, last checked, the only person from the industry who's actually chosen to speak out, and thanks for doing that here on India Today. Ranvir, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv.